sacred space. What I see deep inside makes me feel so alive. Through the smoke, words arise, teaching me how to be wise. Temple tower burn bright.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another Temple 420 Bible study. We'll be going back here into Luke 21 and finishing up that Luke. I think we're going to do it today, so that should be good. Let's start off here with a prayer. Dear Almighty, living Yahweh, living God, Yahweh, thank you for the blessings you give us. Thank you for the wisdom you give us and that you gave us your Son. Help us realize and know the truth of everything that's going on with that and seek out to follow you. May these words inspire the people who don't know you as much to track after you and try to figure out what's going on. As you tell them, if they will seek out you, they will find it. Amen. I'll get back here to move this and the words to the stage. Back to Luke 21. The widow's offering. Yeshua looked up and saw the rich men who were putting on their gifts into the treasury. He saw a certain poor widow putting in 2 mites. So he said, "Truly, I say to you, this poor widow put more in than all of them. All of these gave gifts out of their abundance, but this widow out of her poverty. But it was all she had to live on." Jesus foretells the destruction of the temple. As some spoke of the temple, how it was decorated with beautiful offerings, he said, "As for these that you see, these days will come when not a stone will be left on one another, which will not be torn down." So they asked him, saying, "Teacher, when will these things happen? What will be the sign of these things that are about to happen?" Yeshua answered, "Be careful that you not be deceived, for many will come in my name, saying, 'I am he,' and the time is near. When you hear of wars and riots, don't be terrified, for these things must happen first, but the end will not happen immediately." Jesus foretells of wars and persecution. Then he said to them, "Nations will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be earthquakes in various places, famines and plagues. There will be terrifying events and great signs from heaven. But before all these things, they will lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you over to the synagogues and prisons, bringing you before the kings and governors because of my name. I will lead to an opportunity for your testimony. Therefore, resolve in your hearts not to prepare for your defense ahead of time, for I will give you words and wisdom in which your adversaries will not be able to resist or contradict. But you will be delivered up also by parents, brothers, relatives, and friends. They will put you to death. You will be hated by everyone because of my name. Not a hair in your head will perish, and your endurance will gain your souls. Jesus foretells of the destruction of Jerusalem. When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then know that destruction is near. Then let those in Judea flee to the mountains, and let those who are in the middle of the town leave. And do not let those who are in the country enter it. For these are the days of my vengeance, so that these things are written will be fulfilled. Woe to them who are pregnant and to them who are nursing in these days, for there will be great distress upon the land and wrath to his people. and they will fall by the edge of the sword, and they will be led captive into the nations. And Jerusalem will be trampled by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles are fulfilled. There will be signs of the sun and the moon and the stars. And on earth there will be distress in the nations, despair from the roar of the seas. And there'll be men fainting from fear and the expectation that things are coming upon the world. For powers of heaven will be shaken. For they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud of power and glory. But when these things happen, stand up and lift your heads, because your deliverance is near. The lesson of the fig tree. Yeshua told them a parable. Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they sprout buds, you see for themselves that summer is already near. Also, when you see these things happen, you'll know that the kingdom of Elohim is near. Truly, I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Watch yourself. Pay attention to yourselves so that your hearts will not be burdened with the effects of drinking and intoxication and the worries of life, and that day will close on you like a suddenly like a trap. Horde will come upon everyone living on the face of the whole earth. But be alert at all times, praying that you may be strong enough to escape all these things that will take place and stand before the Son of Man. So during these days, he was teaching in the temple. At night, he went out and stayed on the Mount of Olives. All of the people came in the morning to hear him in the temple. Luke 22. The plot to kill Jesus. Now the festival of unleavened bread was approaching, which is called Passover. The chief priests and the scribes discussed how they could put Yeshua to death. They were afraid of the people, Jewish, to betray Jesus. Then Satan entered into Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12. Judas went to the chief priests and discussed to him how he would betray Yeshua to them. They were glad, and they agreed and gave him money. He consented and looked upon an opportunity to deliver them away from the crowd. The Passover with the disciples. The day of unleavened bread came, on which is Passover. Lamb must be sacrificed. Yeshua sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare us for the Passover meal, so that we may eat it." They asked him, "Where do you want us to make preparations?" He answered them, "Listen, when you have entered the city, a man bearing a pitcher of water will meet you. Follow him into the house that he goes into. Then say to the master of the house, 'The teacher says to you, where is the guest room where I'll eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large furnished room and make preparations there." So they went and found everything he had said, and they prepared the Passover meal. Institution of the Lord's Supper. Then it came, he sat down with the apostles, and he said to them, "I have greatly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. And for I say unto you, I will not eat it again until it's fulfilled into the kingdom of Elohim." Then Yeshua took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he said, "Take this and share it among yourselves. For I say to you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine again until the kingdom of Elohim comes." Then he took the bread, and he had given thanks. He broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, in which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." He took the cup in the same way, saying, "This is the cup of the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out to you. But pay attention. The one who betrays me is at the table. For the Son of Man indeed goes as it has determined. But woe to the man he is betrayed. But woe to that man through whom he is betrayed." And they began to discuss themselves which one might do this. Who is the greatest? Then there was a quarrel among them about who was considered the greatest. He said to them, the kings and the Gentiles have masters over them. The ones who have authority of them are referred to those who do good to their people. But it must not be like this with you. Instead, let the one who is the greatest among you become like the youngest, and let the one who is most important become like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who sits at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at the table? Yet I am among you as one who serves. But you are the ones who have continued with me in my temptations. I give to you a kingdom, and even as my Father has given a kingdom to me, that you may eat and drink at my table and sit on the thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Jesus foretells Peter's denial. Simon, Simon, beware. Satan asked to have you that he may shift your wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. After you've turned back again, strengthen your brothers. Peter said to him, Master, I'm ready to go with you both to prison and death. Yeshua replied, I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day before you deny me. Deny 3 times that you know me. Scripture must be fulfilled in Jesus. Then Yeshua said to them, when I set you out with a purse and a bag of provisions or shoes, did you lack anything? They said nothing. Then he said to them, but now the one who has a purse, let him take it, also the bag of provisions. And the one who does not have a sword, let him sell his cloak and buy one. For I say to you that it is written that one must be fulfilled and regarded as one of the Torahs. So what it has predicted about me is being fulfilled. Then he said, Master, look, there are 2 swords. And he said to them, it is enough. Script. Jesus prays on the Mount of Olives. After supper, Yeshua went out, as he often did, to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. When they arrived, he said to them, pray that you do not enter into temptation. When he went away from them about a stone's throw and knelt and prayed, saying, Father, if you are willing to remove this cup from me, nevertheless my will but yours be done. Then an angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. Being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down upon the ground. Then he rose up from his prayer. He came to the disciples and found them sleeping because of their sorrow. And he asked them, why are you sleeping? Rise and pray that you may not enter into temptation. While he was still speaking, a crowd appeared with Judas, one of the 12, leading him. He came near Yeshua to kiss him. But Yeshua said to him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? When those who were around Yeshua saw this happen, they said, Master, should we strike with a sword? Then one of them struck the servant of a high priest and cut off his ear. Yeshua said, let this be enough. And he touched his ear and healed him. Yeshua said to the chief priests and the captains of the temples and to the elders who came against him, do you come out as a robber with swords and clubs? And when I was daily with you in the temple, you did not lay your hands on me, but this hour you have the authority of darkness? Peter denies Jesus. Seizing him, they led him away and brought him into the preacher's house, the high priest's house. But Peter followed from a distance. They had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together. Peter sat in the midst of them. A certain female servant saw him as he sat in the light of the fire and looked straight upon him and said, This man was also with him. But Peter denied it, saying, Woman, I don't know him. After a little while, someone else saw him and said, You are also one of them. But Peter said, Man, I am not. After about an hour, another man insisted, Truly this man was also with him, for he's a Galilean. But Peter said, Man, I do not know what you're saying. And immediately, while he was speaking, a rooster crowed. Turning, our master Yahuwah looked at Peter, and Peter remembered the words of the master, and he said to him, Before a rooster crows today, you'll deny me 3 times. Going outside, Peter wept bitterly. Jesus is mocked. Then the men guarding Yeshua beat him, and they put a cover on him and asked him, saying, Prophesy, who is the one who hit you? Then they spoke many other things against Yeshua, blaspheming him. As soon as it was day, the elders of the people gathered, both chief priests and scribes. They led him to the council and said, If you are the Messiah, tell us. But there they said to him, If I tell you, you will not believe me. And if I ask you, you will not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the power of the Elohim. And they said, Then you're the son of the Elohim? And Yeshua said to them, You say that I am and not I, I am self-existing and living Elohim. Then they said, Why do we still need a witness? For ourselves have heard this from his own mouth. Jesus before Pilate. The whole company rose up and brought Yeshua before Pilate. They began to accuse him, saying, We found this man perverting our nation, forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, and saying that him himself is Messiah, a king. Pilate asked him, Are you king of the Jews? And Yeshua answered him, said, You say so. Pilate said to the chief priests and multitudes, I find no fault in this man. But they were insisting, saying, He stirs up the people, teaching through all Judea, beginning from Galilee to even this place. Jesus before Herod. So when Pilate heard this, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. When he discovered that he was under Herod's authority, he sent Yeshua to Herod, who himself was at Jerusalem in those days. When Herod saw Yeshua, he was very glad, because he wanted to see him for a long time. He heard about him and hoped some miracle would be done by him. Herod questioned Yeshua in many words, but Yeshua answered him nothing. The chief priests and the scribes stood, violently accusing him. Herod and his soldiers insulted Yeshua and mocked him. They dressed him in elegant clothes and sent him back to Pilate. For Herod and Pilate had become friends with each other that very day, before they had been enemies with each other. Pilate called together the chief priests and the rulers and the crowds of the people, and he said to them, You brought me this man, like a man who is leading the people to act badly. And I having questioned him before you, find no fault in this man concerning these things which you accuse him. No, nor does Herod, for he sent him back to us, and see, nothing worthy of death has been done to him. I will there punish him and release him. Now Pilate was obligated to release to the Jews one prisoner at the feast. Pilate delivered Jesus to be crucified. But they all cried out together, saying, Away with this man, and release us Barabbas. Barabbas was a man who had been put in prison for a certain rebellion on a city and for murder. Pilate addressed him again, desiring to release Yeshua. And they shouted, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" He said to them a third time, "Why is this evil man this man has done? I have found nothing deserving of the death penalty in him. Therefore, after punishing him, I will release him." But they insisted in loud voices, demanding him to be crucified. And the voices convinced Pilate. So Pilate decided to grant them their demand. He released them once he released one they had asked for, who had been put in prison and for rioting and murder. But he delivered up Yeshua to their will, the crucifixion. And they led him away as they seized one Simon Cyrene coming from the country, and they laid him on a cross to carry, following Yeshua. A great crowd of people and women grieved for him, following him. But turning to Yeshua, said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For see, the day is coming in which they will say, Blessed are the barren and the women who did not bear, and the breast who did not nurse. For they will begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and the hills cover us. For they will do these things while the tree is green. What will happen when it's dry?" Other men, 2 criminals, were led away from him to be put to death. They came to the place that was called the Skull. They crucified him and the criminals, one on his left and one on his right. Yeshua said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they cast lots, dividing up his garments. The people stood while the rulers were mocking him, saying, "He saved others, let him save himself, if he is the Messiah the Elohim has chosen." The soldiers ridiculed him and approached him, offering him vinegar and saying, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." It was also a sign over him, "This is the king of the Jews." One of the criminals who was hanging there insulted him by saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and not us, or save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do not fear Elohim, since you're under the same sentence. We indeed are here to justify, but we are receiving what we deserve for our deeds. But this man did nothing wrong." He added, "Yeshua, remember me when you come into my kingdom," or into the kingdom. Get back down. Yeshua said to him, "Truly, I will say to you, you will be with me in paradise." The death of Jesus. It was now about the 6th hour, and a darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour. As the sun's light faded, then the curtain of the temple was split down the middle. Crying with a loud voice, Yeshua said, "Father, into my hands I commit my spirit." Having this said, he died. And the centurion saw what was done. He glorified Elohim, saying, "Surely this was a righteous man." And when all the multitudes came together to witness the sight that they were done, they returned beating their breasts. But all those who knew him, the woman who followed Jesus from Galilee, stood at a distance watching these things. Jesus is buried. Behold, there was a man named Joseph, who was a member of the council. He was a good and righteous man. This man had agreed to the decision of the council and their action. He was from the Judean town of Arithma, and he was looking for a kingdom for the Elohim. This man, approaching Pilate, asked for the body of Yeshua. He took it down and wrapped it in fine linen and placed it in a tomb that was cut with stone. It was where no one had ever been laid. It was the day of preparation, and the Sabbath was dawning. The women who had come with Yeshua out of Galilee followed after and saw the tomb of his body was laid. They returned and prepared spices and ointments. Then on the Sabbath they rested according to the commandment. The resurrection. The very early of the first day of the week, they came to the tomb and brought the spices which they had prepared. They had found the stone had rolled away from the tomb. They had entered in, but they did not find the body of the Master Yeshua. It happened that they were confused about this. Suddenly, two men stood by them in bright, shining robes, and the women were filled with fear and bowed down their faces to the earth. They said to the men, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but he has been raised. Remember how he spoke to you when he was in Galilee, saying that the Son of Man must be delivered up into the hands of the sinful man and crucified. On the third day he would rise again." The woman remembered his words and returned from the tomb where all these things to the 11 and rest. Now Mary Magdalene, Johanna, Mary, Mary, the mother of James, and other women had reported these things before the apostles. But this message, it seemed like idle talk to the apostles. They did not believe the women. Yet Peter rose up and ran to the tomb, and stooping and looking in, he saw the linen cloths by themselves. Peter then departed from his home, wondering what happened. The road to Emmaus. Behold, the two of them were going that very day to the village Emmaus, which was 60 stadia from Jerusalem. They discussed with each other about the things that had happened. It happened that while they discussed the questions together, Yahuwah himself approached and went with them, but their eyes prevented them from recognizing him. Yahuwah said to them, "What are you two talking about as you walk?" They stood there sad, and one of them, named Clopas, answered him, "Are you the only person in Jerusalem who does not know the things which had happened in these days?" He said to them, "What things?" They answered to him, "The things concerning Yeshua, the Nazarene, who was a prophet, a mighty indeed in the word before Yeshua, or before Elohim and all of the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him up to be condemned to death and crucifixion. But what we hoped was that he would free Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the third day since these things happened. But also, since some women of the company amazed us, they have been in the tomb early in the morning. They did not find his body. They came saying that they also seen a vision of the angels who said he was alive. Yeshua said to them, "O foolish men and slow of heart to believe in the prophets who spoken. It was not necessary for the Messiah to suffer these things and enter into glory." When the beginning from Moses through all the prophets, Yeshua interpreted them as the things concerning him and all the scriptures. As they approached the village in which they were going, Yeshua acted as if they were going further, but they compelled him, "Stay with us, for it is towards the evening and the day is almost over." So Yeshua went and stayed with them. And it happened that they'd sat down to him to eat, took the bread, blessed it, and breaking it, he gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened. They knew him. They knew he had vanished out of their sight. Then They said to one another, "Was not our heart burning within us while he spoke to us on the way, while he opened up the scriptures?" They rose up that very hour and returned to Jerusalem. They found the 11 had gathered together, and those who were with him, saying, "Our master is risen and had appeared to Simon." They told the things that happened on the way and how Yeshua was shown to them in the breaking of the bread. Jesus appears to his disciples. As they spoke these things, Yeshua himself stood in the midst of them, saying to them, "Peace be to you." But they were terrified and filled with fear, and supposed that they saw a spirit. Yeshua said to them, "Why are you troubled? Do you arise? What questions arise in your heart? See my hands and my feet, and it is I myself. Touch me and see. For a spirit does not have flesh and bones, as you see me having." As he said this, he showed them his hands and his feet, and they could not believe it because of the joy, and they were amazed. Yeshua said to them, "Do you have anything to eat?" They gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it, ate it before them. When he said to them, "When I was with you, I told you that it was written in the Torah of Moses and the prophets. The Psalms must be fulfilled." And he opened their minds, and they might understand the scriptures. And he said to them, "This is written that the Messiah should suffer and rise again from the dead on the third day. And the repentance and forgiveness of sins should be preached in his name to all the nations, beginning from Jerusalem. You are witnesses of these things, and see, I am sending you what my Father promised. Remain until the city until you are clothed with the power on high." Ascension. Then Yeshua let them out of the city near Bethany. He lifted up his hands and blessed them. It happened that while he was blessing them, he left them up and carried. He was lifted up and carried into heaven. So they worshipped him and then returned to Jerusalem with great joy. And they were continuously in the temple, blessing Elohim. There we go. That's today's roundup of Luke. I appreciate everybody hanging out and listening to that. And I'll give you a verse out, prayer out. Dear Almighty Living God, thank you for the people who stood through this and listened to the chapters of your study and Luke and what you can do for them and the story of salvation. Thank you for everything you've done for us, and help us be guided through the righteous things in your path. Amen.